Hello, welcome to the frosty land of Canada. I'm in Vancouver, BC. It is minus 3 degrees. It's December 5th as I'm recording this, and in a couple days I'll be heading to Los Angeles, a warm, balmy Los Angeles, to take in the Game Awards, which is going to celebrate the best games of 2022, except for the fact that 4 big games I have been playing recently, 3 of them just came out a few days ago, aren't really going to be discussed at the Game Awards, and that was the genesis for this idea. We're talking about Pokemon Violet, which I know has been out for a little bit here, but they just released a big patch and more are coming. Marvel's Midnight Suns, Need for Speed Unbound, and the Callisto Protocol. And I actually got 3 of those games just last week, and I had a little bit of video game paralysis. You know, where you're stuck in, you're looking at your game collection and you're thinking, what am I going to play right now? What am I going to focus on? What am I going to come back with and talk to you guys about? And that's how I was feeling over the weekend. I chose to spend a lot of time with Need for Speed Unbound, but I can tell you all 4 of these games are worth discussion. They're all valuable end of the year, end of the cycle video games that are incredibly important, and I think it's ridiculous that they're just going to be forgotten about as we're sort of wrapping this year up. And yes, there are a lot of complaints about the Callisto Protocol. Let's focus on that one first. Krafton is the publisher. These are the people behind the PUBG universe, and at first it was thought that this was going to tie into PUBG, but it's kind of its own standalone survival horror experience that echoes a lot of what we love and remember from Dead Space. And yes, EA has got a remake of the first Dead Space coming out next year. This game offers some beautiful visuals and atmosphere, and even if the combat's a little bit problematic where you're having to dodge sort of super Punch-Out like and pull back on the controller and you get swarmed by all of these mutants and baddies, and it gets a little bit frustrating and cumbersome, and some of the checkpoints are also a little bit cumbersome and problematic. The mood and the vibe of this game is phenomenal. Like, they really took it to another level in terms of visual fidelity. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can see Sam Witwer right there on the screen. You can see Josh Duhamel right there on the screen. It really takes you into the experience. I found it incredibly moody and creepy and beautiful, and it won't be discussed at the Game Awards for its visual kind of statement and its signature, which is really too bad, because this has been, in years past at the Game Awards, one of the biggest and most heavily hyped titles, and it's finally here, and it's going to be forgotten, which is too bad, because I am enjoying it. I don't have a full review for you right now, but I am enjoying it, and I'm certainly appreciative of the incredible work in this game. And I can say the same thing about Need for Speed Unbound. I've put in quite a bit of time into this game. It's incredibly addictive, and honestly, it's my favorite racing game of 2022. I like the car collection and the car PG and the elegance of Gran Turismo 7. It's a beautiful experience, but this game is just visceral and fun, and you just get taken along for the ride, and there's just so much carnage and chaos. It is a little bit crazy in terms of trying to navigate through the twists and turns of the track when you've got these extra embellishments on there, all of these, you know, Into the Spider-Verse kind of animation bits on top of animated signage and all of the traffic and the sparks and particle effects and the rain effects. And there was more than one race where I was swearing at the television because I rammed into a truck, or I took a corner wrong and I clipped the side of an obstruction or a barrier, and you're just visually overstimulated when you play the game. But the sense of speed paired with this incredible soundtrack, which I know won't be everybody's cup of tea, but I've really been digging it, and it fits the story that they've put into the game. I dig that there's been an extra effort there, and also animating the characters instead of like shooting them with video. Some of the voice acting is a little bit cheesy for sure, but the core experience to keep you hooked on purchasing new cars and collecting new cars and racing cars back to safe houses, and then tuning and tweaking your vehicles so that they hit the right amount of speed and handling, and then being challenged. It's truly a challenging racing game as well. The AI is smart in this thing, and then there's all of these really nice connections to the Burnout franchise, because Criterion is the developer here, and of course they're looping in some of the best elements from Burnout. It's not quite at the top tier of my Burnout memories, but it's edging closer to that, and honestly it's the most fun Need for Speed game I've played in years, and it's the most fun racing game I've played in 2022, and no one's going to be talking about it at the Game Awards, which is crazy. And then of course there's Marvel's Midnight Suns, which Firaxis has made, and what they've done here is they've leveled up to make a full role role-playing experience where you can roam around inside of this big sanctuary and you hang out and you talk with and you befriend and you create relationships with all of these Marvel superheroes, all of these iconic characters. You're facing demonic hordes and legions. You're taking on this uber demonic beast named Lilith, and there's lots of history and backstory and all of this Marvel lore threaded throughout this experience, and then this super tight strategy gameplay that employs pretty cool card mechanics, and it mixes up the formula. I was expecting this to just feel exactly like XCOM, and then they smeared Marvel all over it, but it doesn't. It's got its own vibe, it's its own experience, it's got great visuals. Certainly not it's not the Callisto Protocol, but it's a beautiful looking game, and the writing is solid, the voice acting is solid, and I just feel completely addicted and transported into this great new universe that Firaxis and Marvel have put together for us. Came out on December 2nd. It's too late for the Game Awards to even pay attention to this. And what's problematic is the Game Awards won't talk about it, so that hype won't carry over with it. And then next year's Game Awards, which is supposed to loop in some of December, is going to be focused on all the bangers of 2023. And we're going to make a separate video about everything that's coming out next year. But it's going to be a huge year for video games. And so all of these December releases are going to be forgotten. And another game that will be probably forgotten at the Game Awards is Pokemon Violet, which I think is a terrific experience. Yes, it's got technical issues. Game Freak and Nintendo have to address it and patch it and keep improving it. But really what you're seeing is a foundational shift for how we're going to play Pokemon games going forward. It's heavily influenced by the open world experiences like Breath of the Wild, and it gives you that sense of exploration and freedom and camaraderie with the people that you encounter, but also the Pokemon that you collect, and you can actually send them out and they'll go off on battles by themselves. You don't even have to stop what you're doing, which is really cool. And so the collection mechanic and the side quests that you go on and the towns and the villages and the gyms and all of the Pokemon experts that you'll encounter and battle with, really well done. Clearly this is a company that has been doing this for years. They're also resting on their laurels a little bit, and they're perhaps bringing too many Pokemon games out in a given year, but this is still a fantastic experience. And what's really cool about it for me is that you don't have to be the world's biggest Pokemon fan to get something really cool out of it. That sense of exploration and sort of shifting the RPG formula just a little bit makes this thing feel incredibly fresh, even after Pokemon Legends Arceus, which did some similar types of things. This shifts it into an even more exciting direction. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Game Freak and Nintendo and the Pokemon Company do with this franchise, moving on to more powerful hardware, which I expect we'll at least see next year. I don't know if we're going to get a new Switch or the next console from Nintendo next year. I think we will, but I think we'll at least see it. And I'm excited to see where thinking like this and design ideas like this go when developers have even more powerful hardware. But that doesn't excuse the fact that this is a hugely successful game. This is a team that has a massive budget to work with, and this should run better on current Switch hardware, but it's still a great game. It's still really fun to play. My daughter and I have been having a blast with it. So that's what I've been thinking. I think that the Game Awards should pivot and shift over to January, let the whole year play out, let us get into these December games. I started to think about that when Cyberpunk came out in December, and of course it didn't have the best launch, but it looked like it could be one of the best of that year, and it was completely not discussed at all at the game. It probably shouldn't have been. But I started to think, like, wait a second, we are getting huge releases now in December, and it's time to let those December games be celebrated. And of course we're all playing them and checking them out and stuff, but let's award them. Let's reward them and the work that these developers do with a lot of chatter and a lot of discussion about them. And I think that's what's going to come out of the Game Awards this year, is like, these big games will not be discussed, and that's crazy to me. So there you go, 4 big games that I've been playing. I still got more to play, and I'll come back with reviews on all of them, but I've been having a very good time with all 4 of these, and I'm looking forward to going to the Game Awards and talking about them with my friends down there. Let me know what you guys think. Should the Game Awards move into January? Is it getting a little bit crazy with all of these big December releases now in the game industry? Is it a sign that games happen all year long and we should let entire years play out before we start to celebrate that year? I think so. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. And until then, play forever.